So, good afternoon. The first question that I wanted to address with this case study is really defining what adapted leadership is. And it focuses on four principles, which is emotional intelligence, organizational justice, development, and character. And I think that some of the struggles in this particular situation is having a balance of emotional intelligence and the organizational justice principle is that they're simply going to have to tell the truth that these students didn't do the work so they don't deserve the grade. And I think a lot of teachers find themselves in that situation. You got to know yourself. And there's one thing that I can remember from this institute that we just finished, Women in Leadership, through the Harvard School of Graduate Education, is that the one thing that we have as leaders is our integrity. So adaptive leadership is really steeped in that principle that we have to have integrity. So here we go with this case study. So the elements of the case that really make it challenging is that you have these three students who've been friends since kindergarten. Well, two of them have been friends since kindergarten, but these three students are known as the Three Musketeers. The purpose of the school, it was founded because the community wanted an opportunity for black students to have an equal opportunity as white students. So I just want to point out that the purpose of the school here, it was also founded on the surface level. It was founded by both black and white parents who wanted to have their children go to an integrated school, and they expected excellence. This school was touted as a school for students who excelled. So that's the very principle. And the case study is a big part of the graduation process. All students have to do it, so it's not anything that's new. If I were Principal Spellman and the superintendent, what I would stay really focused on is the fact that from an adapted leadership perspective, this is going to be one of those things where you have to know where your principles lie and your morals lie. So although these parents and community was engaged in supporting of this school, and they had the superintendent on speed dial, the bottom line is that the three friends, they were known as the Three Musketeers. They had been warned by their parents and their teachers about their behavior. There had been attempts to separate the students, but they continued to make their schedule together. They were good friends, but they didn't necessarily work productively together on school projects, which was pretty obvious that this is what happened in this instance. So in that case, if I were the principal, the students would have maybe a chance to make it up, but they would have to go to summer school. So you don't get to graduate if you haven't actually done the work. And I know that it's hard when you have a lot of factors, but I don't necessarily believe that this is one of distinguishable racism. This is actually more so a case dealing with privilege. Because all of these students at this school was founded on the basis of giving students equal opportunity. So in this case, these kids simply did not do their work. I've dealt with it a lot at the Loxahatchee campus where I work. Those kids are privileged. So the expectation is that we give in to them. But the bottom line is that on principle, at the collegiate level, you're here, you're going to do the work. And we can't always make exceptions to that. So I'm sure there's a more eloquent way of saying that, but I don't see this more as a race issue versus simply that you have three students who didn't do their work. And if the policy and the standard is the same for everyone, then it's the same for everyone. It applies. There wasn't really any adequate excuses as to why they didn't do it. I mean, it's obvious that they were warned, they didn't work together well. So what decision should Principal Spellman make? The students should not have necessarily been able to walk in their high school graduation. Maybe this was a growth opportunity for them and they can just go to summer school. How does your decision respond? How does your decision respond to the notions of equity and excellence? Again, there has to be a balance. We have to be able to, with all of the research that we have read, we still have to be able to balance that sometimes students are just students, right? And so whether they black, white, yellow, or purple, this is just the behavior of students who didn't do what they were supposed to do. And even if this was a impoverished area, for example, I would still expect a student to do their homework. because the expectation is there. I would rather you do it and struggle through it than to just not do it at all. Because it's only so, I think that there's a double-edged sword to some of these discussions that we have on racial equity, because although there are some difficulties there, if you continue to lower the standards, people will come to believe that mediocrity is okay. But like I said, in this particular case, I just do not believe that this was race related at all. These students just didn't do the work, and playing the race card, I know from my perspective, is definitely not going to be a factor in the decision that I make to have them to go to summer school